Currently, we are around the southern borders of the demon territory. Our land is just a little further away from here, and it's in the most danger should humans decide to launch an attack like they did last time. The western borders are occupied by a few of the lower-ranking candidates who have allegiances with the higher ranks. Akog explained. The northern border is being occupied by the higher ranks, while the eastern borders are being occupied by the mid-ranks. It's closer to the... so they'll need to fend off attacks by the sea monsters. In terms of safety, I suppose it's better than the southern and western borders, since sea monsters are nothing compared to humans. He sighed. How many candidates are present in the southern borders? We need to understand our neighbors, I suppose. Shiro smiled. Since they were planning on acquiring more territories to boost up Madison's ranking, they'll need to understand the nearby enemies first. The southern border is currently the home of ranks 72 to 67. There are 4 other candidates here, excluding the princess. The main body of the candidates are in the center of the continent. The western border is the home of ranks 66 to 50 due to its large size. The center is ranks 49 to 25. The eastern border is from ranks 24 to 6, while the northern border is home of the top 5 ranking candidates. Akog replied, I see. I guess our plan to go up in the ranks is from southern, western, center, eastern, then northern. Though I don't think the higher ranks will let us have that easily, so I say we leave the western. We'll immediately take the eastern and invade the center so that it gives us a good hold of the southeast territory. That way, there isn't any risk of being forced towards the human cities, Shiro suggested. Are you sure we should aim for the eastern borders? All the ranks there are near the top. Akog frowned, since the eastern borders has 18 rankers in total with their own backings and armies, while they were just a small group in comparison. Oh, we're not going to be attacking immediately? Don't worry. My plan is to begin the preparations for it, such as cleaning up the southern borders first, so that we are the rulers here, then invade the east with the help of my fortress. I'm still getting the spirits to move to the fortress, so it'll take another week at most. After that, I'll teleport it here and we can move from there. Shiro smiled. Seeing the doubt on Akog's face, Isilia shook her head, since it was natural that he would doubt her claims. Shiro, perhaps it's better to show everyone here an image of the fortress, so that it's more believable, Isilia suggested, as Shiro thought about it for a moment. But if I did that, the shock factor won't be there when I bring the fortress here. Shiro pouted, since she enjoyed seeing the surprise on her party's face. We're surprised about what you do most of the time anyways. I'm sure losing one won't hurt you. Madison rolled her eyes. Che, fine. Here's the blueprint of the city. If you want, I can reserve one of the islands for the demons if the time comes. Shiro sighed and snapped her finger. A holographic device appeared in the center of the car. As a full model of the fortress appeared in front of them, normally her holographic blueprints would be semi-translucent so that they could see the details inside, but this one was a silhouette of orange, which confused the party. Shiro, I thought this was a blueprint of the city. How come it's just a silhouette? Madison asked. It is a blueprint. Zoom in and you'll see all the components. There's simply too many things, that's why the blueprint became a silhouette. Shiro shrugged, since it was the truth. With the scale of the fortress, scaling it down to this size would just make it a silhouette. If it makes it easier, I'll break up the blueprint a little, Shiro said while snapping her fingers. The weapons that were on the fortress blueprint were suddenly highlighted in red and were detached from the fortress. Barriers were highlighted in green, houses in blue, and so on. Seeing the blueprint become clear, the party was shocked by the scale of the houses compared to the overall fortress. It was no wonder that the blueprint was a silhouette at first, since even the weapons were the size of hundreds of houses. Navigating the fortress with the blueprint, the party was taken aback by everything that Shiro had included, and there was more being made with each passing second. Ranobes, looking at the branch platforms that could house a few cities, the party collectively sighed. And you were worried about this not surprising us. I can't even imagine its real size in front of me, since it seems unbelievable, and you said that you made this? Madison asked. Yep. I had some help with mana potions that I had found near astral horizons. They're 100% pure with no impurities, so no lasting effects. They refill your mana to full and even increase the maximum capacity slightly. Though with my mana pool, that increase is negligible. I'm thinking of selling the potions on the fortress, or just distributing it as army rewards, since it not only refills your mana, allowing you to fight longer, but it also increases the capacity. And the selling point, no lasting effects. Shiro chuckled while opening a small portal to astral horizons. Feeling the rush of mana in the car, everyone except for Shiro and Isilia were caught off guard as she retrieved one of the vials that her drones had been collecting non-stop. Showing the mana potions to the party, she closed the portal. Since when were you able to create portals at will now? Sylvia asked while analyzing the potion. Recently. With the help of Isilia, I was able to make a teleport shrine of my own using nanobots. Right now, I have markers placed on the mountain. The fortress, and a few other places that I've already visited, Shiro replied as Sylvia nodded her head. Every time we don't see you for a while, you pull out something crazy. Madison sighed while leaning back. As the party relaxed for a little, Aram checked the mana potion and compared a few of the notes in her book. Yeah, I think it's the first of its kind. I'm not an alchemist, so I wouldn't know, but something like this is extremely valuable. I recommend not selling this in huge batches. Aram sighed. I know. I was only planning to sell a bottle or two every so often, with most of it being used in the military for their deeds. As for the alchemist, I was planning on asking Lee. He had to see if he knew a trustworthy alchemist to do something with this potion, since if we could refine or turn it into something else, it could be very useful, Shiro replied, as a potion like this was rare. Talking for a while longer, they soon arrived at a rather desolate city with little to no demons roaming around. This is our territory. As you can see, not many decide to stay here, and those that do are only here because there are no other places for them. Akog sighed. We do have a small military, but it's left over from the previous candidate that passed on. If we want to secure our hold on the southern border, I'm afraid we'll have to do it manually rather than rely on an army. That's fine. I'm used to that method anyways. What about everyone else? Shiro glanced back at the party with a smile. I'm fine with that too. Most of my spells are designed to be one against many after all. Arim laughed. Same with me. Lyrica smiled. Looking towards the rest of the party, she saw that they all agreed, so Shiro knew that they were confident in facing an army which was perfect. Plus, even if they run low on mana, she had her potions to help. Especially for a healer like Sylvia, as long as she had mana, everyone would continue to fight. If anything, she was feeling a little sorry for the enemy. Oh right, do we want to kill the enemy or spare them? If we kill them, we might lose out on military power after all, Shiro asked. Let's spare them if we can. If not, I suppose we can only kill. Madison shrugged. Nodding her head, Shiro made a note of that in her mind. She did have one concern, though, and that was the strength of the candidates near the top. If they were much stronger than expected, they'll need to be careful since one wrong move and they could force them to lead a suppression force themselves, which could be quite bad. Soon, they arrived at the castle. The castle itself wasn't anything too impressive, since Shiro had seen better castles before. Even the spirit capital had a better castle. Approaching the castle, they could see quite a few demon guards raising their weapons towards them. However, when Akog jumped out the car, they immediately dropped their weapons and kneeled on one knee. We have returned with the princess. Prepare 10 chambers for our guests, Akog said as the guards nodded their heads. Dismissing the car, the group entered the castle, while Akog led them to the throne room. So are there only 2 demon nobilities in this faction? Or are there more? Shiro asked curiously. There is one, more person, and she's been helping out with a lot of the planning. She wasn't able to come pick you up, princess, but that's because she is very busy. Akog sighed. That's fine. We seem to be quite low on manpower, so I don't blame you. Madison chuckled. We can talk to her in a bit, but can you first tell us about our sphere of influence? Military power as well as resources such as food? Our sphere of influence right now is a single city and a small mine. Everything else has already been taken. Akog sighed heavily. That's not a lot. Shiro furrowed her brows. What's the plan? Hit hard and fast, or do you want to be stealthy? And slow? Shiro glanced back at Madison, since this was her choice. What do you mean by hard and fast, or stealthy and slow? Madison asked. Well, hard and fast will have us target the most important locations of each region. We'll ignore the less important land and conquer it in the fastest way possible. We can secure our grasp on the weaker territories later. As for stealthy and slow, we'll conquer each land thoroughly without leaving a single one behind. This will take a while and could make the higher ranks focus their attention on us quickly, Shiro explained. Hearing this, Madison stayed silent and thought about the options. The first option lets them hit hard and fast, but at the expense of a stable foundation. Should the higher ranks send an army to them, while they may be able to fight it for a while, it doesn't allow them to protect their own land. If they were just on their own, this option would be fine, since they wouldn't need any land. But since they were acting as a small faction, they needed to be concerned about where the residents stayed. If they leave it defenseless, it could end very poorly for them. However, just as she thought of this, she realized that she forgot about their strongest ally, Shiro. She is able to protect an entire city all by herself, since she could construct hundreds of weapons at once. They didn't need to worry about the main base, since Shiro would be able to arm it with defensive measures. Shiro, if we pick the first option, would you be able to make some defensive weapons and barriers to protect the city? That way we wouldn't need to be worried if we charge forth into battle, Madison asked. Sure, I can do that. Plus, if my weapons detect something and start fighting, I can open a portal back here immediately and deal with the threat. Naturally, just having weapons won't be enough. I'll prepare some barriers and make sure the places we conquer are well fortified. Shiro chuckled as Madison nodded her head. Since we have low numbers, I'm thinking we take advantage of our strongest aspect, which is our offensive power, and hit them hard and fast. Acquire as much land as we can, fortify them, and pressure them at the north. But since we don't know the limits of their power, I say we hold back a little and keep our trump cards. That way we can surprise the rankers when they attack. Right now, we're at a disadvantage in terms of information and manpower, so we should refrain from showing everything, Madison suggested with a serious expression. Are you sure we'll be able to take land with just how many people we have now? Akog asked with a worried expression. It's fine. All of us have improved since the last time we fought you, so we're much stronger than before. Plus, we have 2 blade saintesses on our team, and just 1 could face against an armor, never mind. 2. I have potions and long-range support, while Sylvia has buffs. Madison can run rampant without worry of tanking, since she has raw offensive power, which is the same as Helion. Chen Yu will be able to assassinate high-priority targets, while Yin's power is specialized for large area of effects, which will hit multiple enemies. Lysandra can act as our priority target, since she's plenty strong herself, but since she can dash around the battlefield at high speeds, she can help cover for everyone if they begin to struggle. As for Arim, I don't even need to explain what Arim does, since she's a better mage than Yin. Her gravity magic can stall or even crush the opposing army that tries to block us. Shiro chuckled, since she had a pretty good idea on the party's power and it leaned heavily on the offense. The control mage, healer, and tank can go on the offense and become one of the highest damage dealers in a different party. Hearing what Shiro had said, Akog found it a little unbelievable, but didn't say anything. We can do a small practice run, though since we aren't exactly experts at damage control. Shiro laughed. Hearing this, the party glanced to the side embarrassingly, since they knew they were awful at controlling their damage to not harm the surroundings. If they wanted to control it properly, they'll need to decrease the power output, otherwise it'll be hard not to damage the buildings. Ryobi. If we want to hit hard and fast, we won't be able to build up a proper army, so the best that we can do is use them to defend the place or take them as prisoners. Shiro shrugged. If they were doing things slow, she could probably take some time to make sure the soldiers were loyal to them, but since they were hitting fast, they couldn't use the soldiers since they were unknown variables. If they decide to turn on them, it could end poorly. Naturally, this meant losing all of their territory rather than life, since Shiro could teleport them away if things turned south. If we do use them as city defense, I'll be tracking them with nanobots that will kill them the moment they turn against us. Shiro warned as the party didn't mind. They had seen their fair share of traitors during the time that they had been away from Shiro. Killing traitors for bounties or quests wasn't anything new. While the party was formulating their plans, Akog could only sigh heavily since he had hoped that they could build up a stable army, but that was wishful thinking. They had no land or resource right now, so having a proper army was impossible. Right then, since we need some practice, why don't we secure a rather weak land first, just so that we can get into the swing of things? Shiro smiled before turning to Akog. Do you know a decent land that we can secure in the southern borders? One that isn't too important, but not useless either? Shiro asked as Akog thought about it for a moment, pulling out a map of the southern border. He marked down where they were currently. There's a somewhat decent farmland towards our west, with a fortress nearby keeping guard. It's roughly an hour or so in travel, if we use the vehicle we used before. The guards that are tasked with protecting the farmland are somewhat powerful, but in reality, they're only there for decoration. Akog explained. Interesting. Who does this farmland belong to? Shiro asked while checking the other territories in the southern border that could potentially be important. This farmland belongs to rank 70, Beliar Vernix, a queen candidate. Can you mark out her territory? Pointing out a small city, roughly a few hours' travel away from the farmland, Shiro could see that it was even closer to the human territory than where they were. If anything, should the humans decide to launch another attack at that very spot, they would probably be able to take the city and force the queen candidate to leave. Let's take this farm then. I won't do anything other than maybe support from a distance. I want to see if you lot can take the farmland without killing anyone, since the difficulty of this is rather low. Shiro grinned. Nodding their heads, the party made a few quick preparations and got ready to move out. It was still around midday, so they had plenty of time to secure the farmland and come back in time for dinner. While the party was discussing things in the office room next to the throne room, they heard a knock on the door. Glancing toward the door, they could see a lazy woman leaning against the door. She wore a pair of glasses and had long black hair. That reached her ear. She wore a long black jacket, a plain white shirt, a medium-length skirt, and some tights. Rather than shoes, she wore a pair of flip-flops instead. Trissel LVL, 480, Demonic Duchess. Oh, is that the princess? Greetings. Trissel yawned while giving her a small wave. Seeing this, Akog frowned, but before he could say anything, Madison waved back. Hello, if you are tired, you can rest a bit more and we can get to know each other once you're rested. Madison smiled. I like you, but don't worry, I'm always tired. Trissel grinned as she pulled out a lollipop and put it in her mouth. Let's see. Seems like you lot are planning to take the farmland, she said while glancing at the map. You see, here's the plan so far. Explaining their plans to her, Trissel listened patiently while glancing at the map. I say you'd want to watch out a little then. The little princess that's ranked 70 places quite a bit of importance on this farmland. At the first sign of danger, she'll probably arrive as soon as she can, so unless you want to fight her, I don't think you'll be able to claim this land properly. Of course, even if you defeat her, you'll need to be wary of who she is allied with in the higher ranks, Trissel warned as Akog looked at her in surprise. Wait, she's allied herself with someone now? Akog asked. Yes. In the time that you were out, she had allied herself with rank 49 Kazuya. Thankfully, since the alliance is rather new, Kazuya won't do much, but she'll still be annoyed, so prepare for any retaliation she might throw at you. Trissel nodded her head. You either take the farmland and eliminate the little princess, or you leave it, because if you don't eliminate her early and the alliance solidifies, she'll probably turn her attention to us, since we're rank 72, and our land is the smallest here. The only reason why she hasn't done so already is because she was just a little stronger than us, and rank 71. If she fought, she would be eliminated by rank 71. But now that she has allied herself with Kazuya, we'll need to be careful of her attacking us first if we don't want to lose our territory. We have to go hard on the offense or go hard on the defense, whichever suits you more. Trissel shrugged before laying her body on one of the sofas on the side and covered her eyes with an eye mask. Seeing this, Akog's smile twitched. She's right. Now that we know rank 70 is allied with a higher rank and the alliance is pretty new, we should eliminate her as soon as possible so that the higher rank doesn't invest too much into this. Plus, she'll probably attack sooner or later, so it's probably better for us to have the surprise attack against her, Akog said as Madison nodded her head. The plan remains the same then, with a small change. We're going to eliminate the queen candidate, Madison said as her face was completely serious. Peeking out from under her eye mask, Trissel had a small smile on her face, seeing Madison's expression. Packing up everything, the group left the castle and entered their car. Akog decided to tag along just in case, while Balrog decided to stay behind and help Trissel with a few things. If things do go south, they can go assist quickly. Once she was sure that everyone was in, Shiro started the car and drove towards the farmland. Tapping her fingers on the steering wheel, a few nanobot drones materialized on the top of the car. Roof and flew ahead of them. Tracing her fingers along the dashboard, 2 screens appeared and showed them what the drones could see. Even from this distance, they could already see a sign of the farmland in the distance. A few watchtowers were built, and the darkness obscured the main fortress, but the walls leading up to it gave them a rough idea on where it is. As for the surroundings, there were a few hills, but not much cover, with lots of flat land that was good for farming. There was a single river that was next to the farm, as a few artificial channels were dug to redirect the water elsewhere. I'll be on the hills, supporting you lot with a sniper if you need. I won't be here always, so I want to see how you lot handle a queen candidate. Naturally, Isilia will be there to assist, but try to keep your help to a minimum if they can handle it, okay? Shiro smiled while glancing back at Isilia. Renovis. Of course, kids won't grow if we keep sheltering them. Isilia chuckled. Madi, Lyrica, I'll let you two decide the battle plan and where I should drop you off. After all, this is Madi's debut as a queen candidate. Shiro smiled. Nodding her head, Madison glanced at the map. Like Shiro said before, we'll strike hard and fast. We'll split our party into 2 groups and hit both of the main watchtowers first before claiming the fortress. Me, Aram, Helion, and Lysandra will be responsible for the left tower, while Lyrica, Sylvia, Chen Yu, Yin, and Miss Cecilia will be responsible for the right side. Keep damage to a minimum since we might want to use these towers in the future, and we'll reconverge towards the fortress. When we get to the fortress, Arim will focus on restraining everyone with gravity magic, since we want to capture them, rather, then kill. Whoever gets the tower first will assist the other team in getting theirs so that we save time. And naturally, we got Shiro giving us range support. Do you have any bullets that can restrain them rather than kill them? Madison asked, since their goal was to capture this land and not kill all of the guards. Yeah, don't worry, leave that to me. Shiro waved her hand with a smile, since she had plenty of bullet blueprints for this kind of task. She had bullets that could split into a net, and she had bullets that knock people unconscious. You can probably drop us off around a kilometer away from the towers, and we'll deal with it from there, Madison said as Shiro nodded her head. Stopping the car a kilometer away, Shiro watched as the party and Akog make their way towards the tower. Snapping her finger, she created a sniper and found herself a good spot on the hill. Laying down, she could see Madison giving a few final orders before the 2 teams dashed towards the towers. Dashing towards the right tower, Lyrica was a little nervous since her mum was here with her now. As the successor of the Blade Saintess class, she didn't want to disappoint her. Looking at the two, she could see 3 guards at the top who hadn't noticed them just yet. "Relax yourself, dear. You're too tense. The Bladesson test needs to flow through battle like a stream of water. Find an opening in every gap that you can see and strike before they even notice it." Cecilia chuckled, seeing her daughter tense up. "So much. Met." Nodding her head, Lyrica took a deep breath and tried to relax, but unfortunately, she wasn't able to at all since her mother was beside her. "If you're nervous about me being here, don't worry. I'll cover you. It's okay if you mess up once or twice, since I have messed up much more than you have. Every time, Shiro would cover my mistakes and watch my back." Cecilia smiled at the fond memory. Hearing this, Lyrica was able to relax slightly. However, it was much better than before. Summoning 2 blades, she glanced towards Chen Yu, Sylvia, and Yin. Nodding her head, she signaled them to behind. Twirling her staff, Sylvia slammed it against the ground as 2 Tier 5 magic circles wrapped round each of them. Giving everyone a buff of speed and power, Chen Yu made a seal with his hands as shadows wrapped around him, and he disappeared from the spot. With the boost in speed and power, Lyrica crouched down and dashed with her full strength. Bang! Flickering forward, she reappeared in front of the guards that were stationed at the top of the tower. Widening their eyes in shock, the guards reached out for their blade, but Chen Yu appeared behind them and knocked them out in an instant. There was only one who barely dodged, but Lyrica dealt with him quickly. Seeing this, Cecilia smiled softly. While her daughter was still a little tense around the edges, her potential was very high, and with a bit of training, she could easily surpass her, which brought her joy. Nanomancer reborn, I'd become a snow girl. While Group 2 was clearing the second tower, Group 1 was not far behind in terms of progress. With Madison and Helion taking the front lines and smashing through everything, they were able to breach the tower's defenses with ease. Even when some of the guards tried to slash towards her, their swords would bounce off of her armor, leaving a gap for her to counterattack. Shiro didn't have to do much as she looked through the sniper scope. She could see everything clearly as she had used her analysis skill to peer through the walls. Seeing the entire tower in just lines, she could easily pick out any hidden dangers. Pulling her trigger, she knocked out a demon that was waiting around the corner with a great sword. Even if Madison's armor was powerful, Shiro could tell that the sword would have harmed her quite a bit if it landed with the amount of mana that was gathering there. Thankfully, a single bullet was able to knock him out. The bullet was made using Celestial Path as a reference, and all that it does is drain all of the enemy's mana at once. It would send them into a mana-deficient state for a short period of time, causing their body to react and knock them out. Of course, how long it knocks them out for depends. If their mana regeneration is high, it would only knock them out for a short period of time. If their mana regeneration is slow, it'll knock them out for longer. Of course, she can also inject the stolen mana back into them to stop them from dying if things turn to dire. They're progressing quite nicely, aren't they? Nimue chuckled as she observed Rom inside Shiro's mana realm. Yep, both teams have superb offense, it's just that they have different offenses. Madison and Helion are like an unstoppable tide, while Lyrica and the others are more meticulous. Shiro replied while covering for Lyrica's side. She could see a few of the demons trying to call for reinforcements. Aiming her sniper at them, Shiro wondered if she should let them. Thinking about it for a moment, Shiro smiled and stopped aiming at them. Why not? We need to eliminate the queen candidate anyway. Bringing her here is actually beneficial for us. Shiro smirked, since she knew that they could defeat the queen candidate. Watching them call for reinforcements, she waited for a moment before actually shooting. And now we wait, Shiro muttered. Belaira. Vernix was a rather young-looking demon who wore reserved clothes. Her demonic wings peeked out of her back as the shirt was designed to have holes for her wings. She had long red hair that reached her lower back. Her bangs were swept to the side, and her blood-red eyes were both charming yet threatening. Her body stature was on the younger side as it resembled a young girl blossoming into a beautiful woman. Right now she was biting her nails with frustration since she had finalized an alliance not too long ago. She didn't want to accept the alliance, since doing so means that she had given up and let herself become a slave. Aroused, however, if she didn't accept it, she would be destroyed by Cassia, so rejection was not an option. Arg! Crying out in annoyance, she punched her bed in frustration, since she was now just a slave with a slightly better name. Sighing heavily, she planted her face against her pillow and closed her eyes. But just as she did this, she heard an emergency. Ring that wouldn't happen unless her territory was being attacked. Quickly sitting up, she grabbed the phone. What is it? She asked with a serious voice. We got intruders. Both towers by the farmland. They're all Tier 5 and bang! All she heard was a single explosion which sounded like the tower being pierced, and the other side fell silent without even a single scream. There was the occasional sound of fighting, but that was probably because the other guards were putting up a fight. Slamming her phone down, her eyes blazed with fury. I just became a slave today and now my territory is being invaded? Are you fucking kidding me? She cursed while summoning her armor. Normally, a candidate would have better armor or weapons than this, but she was different. The Vernix family never invested in any expensive armor or weapon because they could cultivate their own in the form of a guardian that they could summon by their side, one that would grow alongside them and it was more powerful than any weapon. Or armor they could equip at that moment. Slamming her windows open, she unfurled her wings and shot into the sky. She was going to teach whoever wanted to invade her land a harsh lesson. Oh, Shiro, we've finished capturing both towers now. We're moving towards the fortress. Hearing Madison report back, Shiro quickly grabbed her earpiece. Understood. I'll keep an eye out for you. Reinforcements have been called, and I'm pretty sure that the candidate is arriving soon. Make it quick, and we can focus on the candidate, Shiro replied. Got it. Cutting off the earpiece, Shiro watched as the two groups reconvened. Applying a few buffs to Madison, Sylvia gave the party another buff before casting one final spell which seemed to have caused their opponents to become disorientated for a moment. Seeing this, Madison massaged her shoulder for a moment before slamming her foot down. Bang! Dashing forward like a comet, a blazing red aura erupted out around her as she slammed against the fortress walls. Boom! Seeing the huge cloud of smoke that exploded out in the distance, Shiro widened her eyes in surprise. Holy crap, I didn't think she'd just ram it down like that. Shiro thought to herself, since Madison's attack was out of her expectations. She had thought that they would jump over the wall or something, but no. Madison straight up used her own body as a weapon and destroyed the front gates. Looking at the barely intact wall, Shiro's smile couldn't help but twitch, since she knew. The materials used were reinforced because of powerful demons or humans, and yet despite that, with a few buffs from Sylvia, Madison was actually able to destroy the gate with ease. The following combat was as expected. With the party back together, the enemy couldn't harm them at all. And even if by some miracle they could, Sylvia would keep everyone healthy with her healing spells, and Chen Yu would target the powerful demons that managed to harm them. In a few moments, all of the guards had been defeated and the fortress was theirs. Unfortunately, during this little conquest, they had completely damaged the front gate and parts of the wall which they would need to fix themselves. Just as Shiro was about to pack away, she sensed a rapidly approaching mana signal and notified the party. Watch out everyone, seems like the candidate is here. Shiro smiled as the party started to gather at the courtyard of the fortress. Looking into the distance, they could see a faint shadow of a small person flying towards here. While her shadow was faint, they could sense that she was powerful with her mana signal. However, this wasn't being arrogant, but even Sylvia could defeat her since they weren't weak. What the hell? Belir shouted out, seeing the destroyed fortress. Damn it, do you know how hard it was for a low rank like me to get materials like that to fortify the fortress? And yet you destroy it just like that. If you're going to capture it, don't damage it, Balri complained as a giant Tier 5 magic circle expanded out above her. But despite this display of power, the party only looked at her awkwardly. Madison looked towards their most normal person, Akog, and opened her mouth. Is that magic supposed to be impressive? She asked. Sure, the surge of mana was impressive, but compared to what they could do, it seemed meek. Hearing Madison ask if a Tier 5 magic was supposed to be impressive or not, Akog was speechless, since Tier 5 was the peak of what people could attain at this moment of time. Of course, it was impressive. Hearing this over the earpiece, Shiro couldn't help but shake her head. Oh, poor Maddie. Well, I should probably knock out the queen candidate so that we can talk to her later, I guess. She's less of a threat than I thought. Shiro mused to herself and fired a shot. Looking at the young girl flying in the sky, she was about to unleash the spell when a bullet hit her neck, but no blood was drawn. Pausing for a moment, her body fell out of the sky like a dead bird, and the magic was instantly cancelled. Bang! Crashing against the rubble, they couldn't help but think, ouch, from the way she fell. I'll go heal her a little, I guess. Sylvia shrugged as the party nodded their heads. If the enemy was strong, they wouldn't do this. But this girl seemed a little pitiful. Clearing up the rubble and healing her, the party tied her up to a chair and prepared to interrogate when she woke up. Sitting in front of a girl tied up to the chair, the party looked at each other before looking at the girl. Right now, they were sitting in the office room of the fortress that they had just conquered since it was easier to question the candidate here. Are we going to kill her? Madison asked out of curiosity, since they only captured her, since she seemed quite pitiful. The fact that she stormed ahead without even assessing their power told them that the candidate was a novice when it came to battle. Whether that was because she had overlooked them due to anger or something else, it didn't really matter since the final result was the same. I mean, if we want to kill her, I can do it right now. Shiro shrugged. Let's listen to what she has to say first. Depending on what happens, we'll decide then. Lyrica suggested as the party nodded their heads. While they were talking, Akka was trying to process everything that had happened. So far, he had witnessed his princess slam her body through a reinforced fortress gate that Belir had paid quite a steep price for. Not only that, Shiro casually decided to knock out a queen candidate with a single bullet. Compared to their first meeting, the party's improvement was monstrous. This was just over the course of a few months, too. Remembering that he had been stuck at his level for quite a while now, he couldn't help but feel embarrassed. However, even if he wanted to level up, he was forced to take care of serious matters, such as making sure their faction didn't collapse. While he did get help from Trysil and Balrog, there was only so much the three of them could do. Right then, so the plan is to interrogate her, then decide on what happens. Are you planning to make her into a vassal or something? Because I'm not sure she'll choose you over rank 49, Shiro asked, since she could tell that Madison was feeling pity for the girl. We'll see. Madison glanced to the side, since she understood that Shiro realized she was going easy on the girl. Shrugging her shoulders, Shiro didn't mind if Madison wanted to pity the girl, since they heavily outpower her. However, if the fight was close, Shiro would kill her immediately. Walking up to the girl, Shiro removed the bullet on her neck and injected the mana it had stolen back into her. Healing up her wound, she took a step back. Erg! Groaning softly, the girl opened her eyes and found herself tied to a chair. The hell? She cried out in surprise before trying her best to break out. However, the rope was made from Shiro's nanobots, so breaking out was nothing but a pipe dream for her. Gritting her teeth, mana flared from her body as two illusionary armored arms appeared and tried to rip the rope apart, but to no avail. Staying silent, she slowly looked up at the party that was staring at her and couldn't help but feel a chill down her spine. This is a sturdy rope you have. Very well made. Where can I buy something like this? Belir asked with a forced smile, since she had expected her guardian to break her out, but it didn't even dent the rope. Ranabj. Thank you. I made it. Let's see. Rank 70. Belir Vernix, a queen candidate that has recently made an alliance with rank 49. Pui. What? Alliance? It's just being a slave with a better name. Belir retorted instantly, since she hated that alliance. If she could, she would have never agreed to it. Interesting. Seems like you aren't on good terms with rank 49. Shiro chuckled while giving Madison a side glance, since she knew the young girl wasn't lying. Pui, who the hell would be on good terms with each other when it's a guarantee that the weaker one would become the slave? The only reason the higher ranks aren't fighting is because they're afraid of losing power, while the lower ranks eye them like rabid animals. Belir pouted while shuffling around on the chair, since the rope was uncomfortable. Why don't you give up on the alliance with rank 49 if you hate her that much? Madison asked. Che, as if I could. If I gave up, my family and I will be killed. And our land would be forcefully taken. If I team up with her, at least my family can still live. Even if it is basically equivalent to being a slave? Belir clicked her tongue and complained. So I take it that your main goal is to save your family then? Shiro smiled. If it was just me, then I wouldn't serve her even if I died. Who the hell wants to be a slave of that betch? But I can't let Mom and Dad die because of my hubris. I'm not like Big Sis. Belir glared at the ground in anger. And I'm guessing you're telling us all of this so that we can spare you, since we seem like the soft kind of people. Shiro laughed as Belir blushed slightly and nodded her head, since there was no point lying about that. I can't die. If I die, she would definitely kill my parents. Belir bit her lip while trying to get out once more. Just a question from me. What was that? Hillian asked. What was what? Belir tilted her head. The guardian thing. The arm that popped out. Hillian corrected himself as Belir summoned the guardian arm again. If I tell you what this is, will you let me go? Belir asked with a frown. Well, I don't really care if you tell me or not, since we know a person that has something similar to this. Hillian shrugged. When he and Madison were being trained by Chelsea, she would use her own guardian to beat them up, so it was hard for him to not recognize it. Who? You know someone that can use the family guardian? Where is she? Belir gritted her teeth and glared at Hellion. You seem to have a vendetta against her. Madison raised her eyebrow. Only the demons of the Vernix family can use the guardian. Anyone who can use it has our blood flowing in their veins. All of the Vernix family is living in the center of the demon continent except for one. If you have seen it before, it means you met my older sis, Nizia Vernix. She was the one who gave up on becoming a queen candidate and almost caused our family to be killed. Belir explained with a glare. Looking at one another, both Hillian and Madison frowned, since Chelsea had clearly said that her family was killed by demons. Teacher said that her family was killed by demons. Perhaps she's an extended family rather than sister, Hillian asked. I doubt it. Silence ensued as it was becoming a little awkward. Thinking about it for a moment, Shiro decided to knock her out again so that they could have a private chat. Making a pistol, she shot another bullet at her neck as she was knocked out before she could say anything. Since there is now the possibility that she is Chelsea's sister, perhaps we should contact her before we deal with the girl here, Shiro suggested, as both Hylian and Madison nodded her head. Pulling out her phone, Shiro called her mum, who picked up almost instantly. "Darling, do you need something?" Mio's voice rang out. Do you know Chelsea's contact number? She was the one who trained Hylian and Madison," Shiro asked. "Oh, you're looking for Chelsea?" Mio asked. We kind of need her thoughts right now." Shiro nodded her head. "Sure, let me give you her number." Ending the call, Mio sent Shiro Chelsea's number, which she dialed immediately. Waiting for a few moments, she heard the other side pick up. "How did you get my number? Who are you?" Before she could even greet her, she had to push her phone away from how loud it was. With her enhanced senses, it was surprising that her eardrums didn't rupture. "This is Shiro, Mio and Koji's daughter," Shiro explained as Chelsea paused for a moment. "Ah, okay. I'm guessing you got my number from your parents. What do you need?" Hearing this, Shiro took a deep breath. "We have come across a girl who seemed to have a connection to you. Her name is Belir Vernix." Just as she said this, Shiro heard a bang on the other side. "Where are you right now? I'm coming over." Hearing the seriousness of her voice, Shiro knew that Chelsea was connected. "I'll send you a map now." "Thank you." Ending the call, Shiro sent her a map of their current location. "Chelsea is coming to our location now," Shiro said as she turned to the party. Hearing this, the party decided to settle down for the night, since Chelsea was coming soon. They didn't want to do anything to Belir just yet, since if they were indeed family, Chelsea should be the one to decide what to do rather than them. Preparing a few rooms manually, they decided to rest up for the night. While everyone was resting up for the night, Shiro decided to do a bit of scouting herself. Sitting on the roof of the fortress, Shiro was constantly sending out drones to the rest of the demon continent, so that she could manually scan out the borders for herself, such as where strong mana signatures are, as well as potential land that they could conquer. She was going to mark them out, then compare it to the map that Akog had, so that she knew which candidate these lands belonged to. "It seems like you're busy as usual." Cecilia smiled as she climbed the ladder up to the roof. Sitting next to Shiro, she handed her some hot chocolate. I want to get as much information as I can from Madison, since Akog wasn't able to do much, since he had been busy. But it's understandable, considering they only have a single city and a single mine. To be honest, I'm surprised they even kept the mine, since I would have thought the other candidates would have taken it by now. Shiro shrugged. "That's so like you. You never really liked going into things if there was information that you could obtain, did you?" Celia laughed. "Of course. If there was information to be obtained and I ignore it, anything that happens out of expectation is my fault for not doing the research. Any information that I could get might be life-saving. Plus, it was also because I didn't research enough that you were forced to kill yourself to help me survive." Shiro looked down with a soft sigh. "Oh, don't be like that. I'm here now, aren't I? Plus, you saved me plenty of times, haven't you? Just take it as me repaying my debt, Fufu." Isilia chuckled while using Shiro's shoulder as a headrest. "Even so, don't you dare use your life like that anymore, okay? If you do, I'll be angry, since I have plenty of ways to keep myself alive." Shiro pouted. "I know. You're even more tenacious in this life than you were in your last. Though speaking of which, once the new age begins again, it means Akari will be back. Do you think you can beat him now that he knows you're alive? He can also make that device to shut down your nanobots, can't he?" Isilia asked with worry. "Who knows? I'm also able to enter God form for a bit, so I'll need to end things quickly. Thankfully, I also have a skill called Extraction, which allows me to attack his source code directly. Even if he has a form of immortality, as long as I can hit him with Extraction, he'll be dead. The only sad thing is that I won't be able to torture him, but as long as he is dead, I don't really care. Plus, there's also the problem of the light goddess that's backing him. From what I know, she was the one who pushed him to become who he is today." Shiro narrowed her eyes. "Oh, how did you know? I thought the light goddess was just someone who gave him a bit of her power rather than push him to become evil." Isilia frowned. "Back in Arya, the light goddess was a highly respected god, so it was hard to believe that she was the cause of him becoming evil. When I extracted him the first time, I wasn't able to kill him, but I did manage to harm him quite a bit, and I even got a glance at his memories using the source code. What I saw was the light goddess urging him, and his name slowly turned black. Fallen," Isilia muttered as Shiro nodded her head. "I'm still not sure what becoming fallen means, but I know that Yin said I was close to becoming a fallen when I was obsessed with killing the light hero." Shiro shrugged. "Becoming fallen is when the system recognizes your strong desire to slaughter or a single purpose of killing. I did a bit of research on this, and those that become fallen are single-minded slaughter machines that won't stop until their desire is fulfilled. After that, they wander the world as mindless beings that require no substance to survive and will kill all who stand in their way. Naturally, this happens because the system supports this desire. The system is a tool to help, and you can think of it as a way to grant your wish. Once you fall, you cannot go back as your soul would have been corrupted. Even if you reincarnate, your next life will be filled with a growing desire of blood and vengeance that will force you back on the track. Of becoming fallen, even if you don't want it? It's not a joke to say that once you fall, there is no going back, Isilia explained with a frown. The system is a double-sided sword. It assists you, but depending on what happens, it may also harm you. Shiro shrugged as she was grateful for the fact that she was actually able to avoid becoming fallen. Onosman, it's not an exaggeration to say that if the system wasn't around, there would be no fallen, since it's the system that amplifies and responds to this desire. Without the system, this desire wouldn't be cultivated, and it wouldn't corrupt your soul. Isilia sighed, setting aside the depressing talk. How does spending time with your daughter feel? Shiro smiled. It feels good. After my husband passed. It was hard, but I couldn't find Lyrica just yet. Now that I can actually be next to her, I feel relieved. Did you know that when I was making my way up here, Lyrica was actually hugging me tightly and refused to let go? Isilia smiled. Well, she did grow up losing both her parents. She's probably worried that you might disappear again. Shiro smiled softly. She did tell me about how you helped her overcome her weak self after your first meeting in school. Thank you. It's fine. You know that I don't spend too much time on someone unless they're being sincere. On the first day of arriving, she actually stayed up all night making me a notebook to help me and the system recognized it. If not for that, we might have just stayed as acquaintances without me knowing that she was actually your daughter, Shiro said while rubbing the bridge of her nose. Talking for a little longer, Isilia helped Shiro with mapping out the information she collected before going back to sleep. She knows you quite well, huh? You two also work together quite nicely. Nimue smiled. We have worked together for quite a few years back in Aria, after all. She knows a few of my habits, Shiro replied with a smile. It's nice that you have someone familiar that you can talk to often. It must have been quite lonely to come to this world on your own at the start. Izuel asked as Shiro nodded her head. It was. I hid it behind my goal of seeking revenge and getting stronger, I guess. It was just something to keep me constantly distracted so that I didn't think about it. Shiro replied, since she felt alone in Aria ever since Isilia died. But on Earth, she was now surrounded by friends and family to alleviate this loneliness. Shaking her head, Shiro did some final scouting before going to sleep herself. Waking up early in the morning, the party had some breakfast before giving Belir some food as well. They didn't say anything to her just yet, since Chelsea was coming soon. Sensing a mana signature in the distance, Shiro brought out a sniper and saw that Chelsea was arriving, on top of a large hawk mount. Seeing the expression on her face, Shiro could see nervousness and disbelief, which confused her a little, but she knew that they were probably going to find out what happened later today. Landing in the courtyard, Chelsea walked up to Shiro. Where is she? Where is Belir? She asked. Follow? Me. Leading her into the fortress, she showed her to the room where they kept Belir. Leading Chelsea to the room that they had kept Belir in, Shiro undid the ropes and stepped to one side. Naturally, she removed the bullet once more so that she could actually regain consciousness. Looking at Belir that was sitting on the chair, Chelsea looked at her with shock and relief. Biting her lip, she hugged Belir, causing her to wake up. Then, groaning softly, she looked down and saw Chelsea hugging her. Widening her eyes, she gritted her teeth and kicked her away. Don't touch me, she spat out while forcing Chelsea back a few steps. Do you want me to stay, or should I leave so that you two can have some privacy? Shiro asked, but it seems like Chelsea didn't pay her any attention. Shrugging her shoulders, she kept silent and made herself comfortable in the corner. A few years ago, I swear I had seen you, Mum, Dad, and everyone else getting killed in front of my eyes. How are you alive? Chelsea asked as her voice quivered. We never got killed. What do you mean? How are we alive? You're the one who ran away when things got tough, Belir shouted back, as Shiro figured it's probably rude to stay. Leaving. Quietly, she allowed the two to talk things out without any interruption. What's happening inside? Madison asked, since she could hear some shouting when Shiro opened the door. Probably a misunderstanding between the two of them. From what I know, Chelsea had seen her family die, whereas Balry believes that Chelsea had abandoned them. Shiro shrugged. Hopefully they can sort it out. Teacher's methods are rather heavy-handed, but she's a good person. I don't believe she would abandon her family like what Belir had said. Madison furrowed her brows. She could still remember the fear she had when Chelsea had asked them to wrestle a young dragon, but whenever they were in danger, she could rescue them when things got rough. In the end, her training helped them improve, in terms of how they utilized their strengths. I know. It's just a matter of waiting for the Bang! Before Shiro could finish her sentence, the door of the room slammed open as Chelsea's body was sent crashing against the wall. Looking back in surprise, Shiro could see that Chelsea had a sad expression on her face while wiping away the blood. Don't. Give me that crap. All of the family saw you running away. We're alive and well, so what the hell do you mean you saw someone kill us? And even if you did see them kill us, you should have at least avenged us or something. Why the hell did you run away like a coward? Belir glared at Chelsea while her guardian flared behind her with rage. Ranob says, "You're right. I shouldn't have run away. Even if I saw you get killed, I should have stayed and gotten revenge for you." Chelsea smiled sadly before standing up. Walking up to Shiro, she patted her shoulder. "Look after her for me, please. She's a bit hot-headed, but she's not a bad girl," Chelsea whispered over as her wounds slowly healed. Sure." Shiro nodded her head. Looking at Chelsea, who was walking away, Belir only gritted her teeth and went back into the room without saying anything. "I should have a talk with her if we're going to be getting her help, I suppose. Isilia has a copy of all the scouting I did yesterday, so you can go over the data with her," Shiro said as the party nodded their heads. Watching the party leave, Shiro pushed open the door before closing it. "Seems like your relationship with your sister is on the rough side." Shiro chuckled while sitting next to her. "Juice?" she asked, while holding out a cut of juice that she had retrieved from her inventory. "What kind of offer is that? Are you going to persuade me to forgive my sister?" Belir asked with a frown, but didn't reject the juice. "Half and half, I guess. Your sister did ask us to look after you." Shiro chuckled. "Che, if she was really concerned, she would be looking for Mum and Dad first." Belir drank all the juice in one go out of frustration. "Perhaps she has her own matters to think about. I have an older sis and a younger sis. My older sis would go out of her way to do things for me while I slept. As for my younger sis, I haven't been able to do much for her, but I do regret not spending as much time together since I was with my older sis." Shiro smiled and refilled Belir's juice. "So what's your goal, telling me all of this and giving me juice?" Belir asked. Once again, she didn't refuse the juice. "Since your older sis wanted me, or rather us, to look after you, we're going to be on friendly terms. I suppose we also want to know about the situation between you and Rank 49 so that we can deal with her and take her out before she can harm you," Shiro explained, since that was indeed their goal. She was thinking of letting Belir protect their land, since she wasn't exactly the most powerful one, and letting her on the front lines was dangerous. Plus, since Chelsea wanted them to look after her, the front lines was not the best place to do so. "So what do you even want me to do? If you basically want me to become your slave, then I won't agree." Belir glared at her. "Nothing serious like that. I just want you to protect the land like you have been, and I'll give you some weapons to help you achieve this. You can be the protector while we go secure more land." Shiro chuckled. "Sure. You're not asking me to be a slave, so that's better than being under that bitch. Also, will you not even be able to beat her? She is strong, you know," Belir asked, but getting worried already. Shiro laughed and patted her head. Blushing from embarrassment, Balri moved her head away. "Well, if you die, I'm basically dead anyway." She quickly made an excuse as Shiro shrugged her shoulder. "Whatever you say. But don't worry, we're strong. For example, I have this." Shiro grinned and created a Tier 6 magic circle. Seeing this, Belir widened her eyes in shock. "You're Tier 6? She asked. "Nope, but one of my attunements is Tier 6. Shiro chuckled since she was only in the 300s in terms of level. She was almost level 400, but she would still need to kill quite a lot of things before she can reach that. Seeing that Shiro had access to Tier 6 magic, Belir sighed in relief, since it means that if she was a queen candidate, she would probably be in the top 5. Hell, she might even be rank 1 for all she knows, since the others haven't attained Tier 6 yet to her knowledge. You just sighed in relief, didn't you? Shiro laughed as she patted her head again. "Don't worry, this party is strong. I'll keep in contact with you using this. If you need our help or want to talk, you can always use this." Shiro smiled and handed her an earpiece. "When you're ready, come to the office room. Since this is your fortress, you should be familiar, no?" Shiro asked. "Man, I know." Belir nodded her head. "Good." Nodding her head, Shiro was about to leave when she felt a tug behind her. Can I have another juice, please? It's tasty," Belir asked with a blush. "Of course." "Have 3. Shiro chuckled and retrieved 3 juices from her inventory. She still had quite a few left, but she figured that she'll need to replenish her stock soon. After all, she's been drinking it whenever she had some downtime. "Thank you." Leaving the room, Shiro walked towards the office room. From her scouting last night, she had already planned out an attack route of sorts, where they would start moving towards the northeast so that they can start conquering the eastern borders that were next to the sea. If they attack the center directly, it'll be hard to keep. the land, since they could be attacked by the north, east, and west. But if they go east first, all they had to worry about was the center. Entering the room, she could see that they were already discussing the attack plans. On the way to the eastern borders, there are 4 significant territories that we want to keep an eye on. A large mine, a mountain fortress that provides good defenses, another farmland, and the small city of Ophet. If we can take this city, it'll open quite a few trade routes between the mines and farms. While there isn't a teleport shrine in this city, it actually works in our favor, since it'll be more concerning if the enemy could teleport into our doorsteps, Isilia explained, while pointing it on the map. Since we can make our own, it doesn't matter if a place has teleport shrines or not. If anything, we should aim for ones without teleport shrines, Shiro added on while sitting down on a chair. Seems like you've finished talking to her. Isilia smiled. She's agreed to act as a defender of the cities rather than join us on the front lines, since it's safer back here. Plus, I can give her a few weapons to help defend the city. Shiro chuckled. What about her alliance with the other queen candidate? Madison asked. Seems like it's more of a verbal agreement with some hostages, probably. We'll sort out the details with her in a bit. The main thing is that since it's probably a verbal agreement, we can work around a few things without telling Cassia, the queen candidate. Shiro chuckled. That's a relief. If she had a contract like the one you have with Nimue, it would be quite concerning. Lyrica furrowed her brows, since she knows that Nimue's contract has it, so that if she goes against the terms, she would essentially be killed forever. Indeed, but don't drop your guard since we never know what could happen, Shiro reminded as Lyrica nodded her head. Anyways, since Shiro is here, I can finish the conquer plan for now. Since we're going to be making our way to the eastern border, we're going to first split our teams into 4, since everything on the southern border can be handled with ease. We'll split the teams so that we are even in terms of offense and defense with Shiro handling air support. I'm sure you can probably snipe across the border, no? Isilia smirked as she glanced at Shiro. It'll need some careful calculations, but it shouldn't be too hard. Shiro laughed. Perfect. We'll have you running air support then, and you can also act as our eyes in case anything goes wrong. The first team will be the one that conquers the mine. Since it's a mine, we'll need things to be on the careful side. Therefore, the first team will be Sylvia and Chen Yu. Both of them work well together, and Chen Yu is single target while Sylvia can buff him. The next is the mountain fortress. Arim and Yin will be responsible for this one, since they are both large-scale AoE fighters. Arim, I'll need you to control the spells, including Yin's, so that you don't completely obliterate the fortress. We know that their defenses are strong, so you two are probably the best choice for this. For farmland, I want Lysandra to take it by herself, since she's a good all-rounder type fighter. You can self-heal, so conquering it by yourself shouldn't be a problem, right? Isilia asked as her understanding of everyone is what Shiro had told her, along with what she had seen. I can take it. It might take a bit longer since I'm alone, but it shouldn't take too long. Lysandra nodded her head. Good. The final one is the city. Since it's a city, it'll naturally need more people to conquer it, hence why the 4th team will have the most people. Madison, Lyrica, Halion, and me. We'll conquer the city. Once we conquer the city, we've essentially made a bridge to the eastern borders, so we need to keep things intact. Well, as much as possible, since I'm sure Shiro will be able to repair the city if we damage it. Isilia chuckled as Shiro didn't say anything other than nod her head, since she had to repair plenty of cities back in Aria. Good. Let's get moving. Now then, since it's still early in the morning, Isilia concluded. Akog, you can head back for now and inform Tresil and Balrog about what we're going. Once we finish conquering the lands, you can probably go there and help us solidify our hold. On it, Madison said as Akog bowed. As you wish. How should I contact you? Akog asked. You can use this. Shiro smiled and threw the 2 of them earpieces. Informing Akog on a few other small things, the party stepped out of the fortress as Balir followed them. Am I just protecting this place like usual then? She asked. Just look after this place, and if you need help, contact me and I'll teleport here. Shiro chuckled. Nodding her head, Balir watched as the party left in a car. Letting Isilia drive, Shiro flew into the air and readied her sniper. Unlike the previous sniper, this one was a little different in that the range was much bigger, and the power allowed the bullets to travel incredibly fast. Even over a long distance, the bullet would arrive almost instantly. Right then, shall we begin conquering the entire southern border? Shiro grinned as Nimue only shook her head lightly. I pity those that have no idea what's about to happen. She muttered as Izuel agreed. Imari now, the rank 67th Demon Queen candidate, was the most influential demon in the southern border. She had short black hair and wore black and silver armor. Her silver eyes would cause her subordinates to kneel in fear. While she may be called the most influential, it was only because the higher ranks didn't care about the southern border. It was near the human territories, and it was sandwiched between The western border, the center, and the eastern border. Being the strongest here wasn't much of a good thing, since if the east or west decide to invade, she won't be able to do anything about it. Rao boss! After all, the east is home to ranks 24 to 6, the center is home to ranks 49 to 25, and the west is 66 to 50. Just a single candidate from those places would be able to come down to the south and conquer it in an instant. The only reason as to why they haven't is because of the fine balance of power they have. If that balance was broken, she would be eliminated. Right now, she was currently pacing around with a frown since she had heard about rank 49 and 70 making an alliance which was potentially bad for her. Sure, she was in a position where anyone higher than her could take over, but it's not as though she was just going to let them. If rank 70 is getting support from 49, I should probably nip this bud before it can bloom properly. If I let this be, they could knock on my door in a week's time and take everything from me. Even if I will lose to rank 49, I won't let myself go down without a fight. Imari thought with a frown and looked out of her window. Narrowing her eyes, she called for her assistant. You called Princess? A young woman kneeled in front of her as Imari looked down at her. Gather the army. We're going to fight rank 70 Belir. We can't let her alliance continue for longer, Imari said as the young woman furrowed her brows. But if we do, it's akin to declaring war against rank 49. Even if we don't move, it's only a matter of time before they come knocking on my door. I'm not letting myself get eliminated without a fight. Imari frowned as the young woman nodded her head. As you wish. But before they could leave, a winged demon charged into the room. Report! The Galard mines, Bayak Mountain Fortress, Rel's farmland, and Ofet City are being attacked, the demon shouted out. What? By who? Imari widened her eyes. We don't know. All we know is that 2 people are at the mines, 2 at the fortress, 1 at the farmland, and 4 at the city. We're not able to harm them, much less stop them, the demon reported. The hell? Us. Gritting her teeth, Imari didn't know which higher-ranked queen decided to claim the southern border. But with only 2 demons going to one land, it's clear that they're more powerful than average. Gather everyone. We're going to fight them, she commanded before storming out of the room. Laying on her back while floating in the air, Shiro had already set up a perimeter of drones around all 4 territories. Things were going quite well, so there was much she needed to do in terms of support. Sylvia and Chen Yu were making steady progress in terms of conquering the mines. With Sylvia being able to buff, debuff, and act as a pseudo-control mage, Chen Yu was able to knock out the people guarding the mines with ease. For the fortress, while they were indeed making good progress, the damage to the fortress was growing, with each passing moment. Even when Aram tried to contain the damage, Yin would get overly excited and launch another big spell, which would damage the fortress further. Even if Aram was powerful, there was only so much she could do if Yin continuously launched spells like that. Naturally, Shiro gave up on caring, since even if she did destroy the fortress in the end, she could repair if they needed that location. But since they were low on manpower, that location could be ignored if they didn't need it. For the farmland, Lysandra had already finished conquering it, and all she was doing now was guarding it, in case someone came to claim it back. She was the fastest one out of everyone because of the lack of guards. The one that took the longest was the city due to its size. Since they didn't want to kill people as they would be their subjects later, the party took extra care in not unleashing extremely strong spells. This was the luxury of the strong, since they can hold back and still win. With Madison and Lyrica acting as the vanguard, Helion would act as a pseudo-assassin with the way his passive works. If they see a strong target, he would forge his way towards them so that his presence was concealed, then strike them on the back of the head to knock them out. The shock of seeing a muscular man suddenly appear was rather surprising, as the enemy wasn't able to react to it at all. In their shoes, Shiro would also be surprised, since his passive makes it so that you ignore him. Even if you sent out a full area probe, his presence would be forgotten. It wasn't erasure of presence, but the trickery of the mind. So in essence, it was one of the strongest stealth skills out there. Unless you have a skill that prevented illusions, it would be impossible to find Helion. You could be cooking a nice meal for your family, and Helion could be sitting at your table. As long as he is forging, you won't notice him. Just as she was relaxing, she felt her drones report a group of fast-moving targets towards the city. Closing one of her eyes, she looked through the camera of the drone and saw what seemed to be a queen candidate from the mana she was releasing along with her armor. Everyone listen up, we got a queen candidate flying here from the west of the city. There's an open area between her and the city, so we'll go confront her there. That way we can avoid getting any bystanders into our fight. Shiro smiled. I'm ready, since I've already cleared the farmlands, Lysandra reported as Shiro nodded. Her head. What about Team 1? She asked. We got one more level to go, then we'll be good too. Sylvia replied, since they were currently making their way through the mines, clearing out guards. That's fine. Take your time. When you're ready, Pretty, the third button in a portal, will be created for you at my location. Team 2, what about you two? Renobes, if we ignore the damages done on the fortress, we're pretty much done since Yin wouldn't stop firing off spells. There are a few casualties, but no one is dead, Ariam replied while Yin was still firing spells in the background. Emin, ignore her for now. I know that Team 4 hasn't finished yet, but that's fine. Team 1, 2, and 3 join up into the portal when I give you the signal. Shiro ordered as she dashed towards the west of the city so that she could intercept the queen candidate in the plains. That way, they could fight without worrying too much. With Shiro's speed, she was able to arrive at the plains and intercept the queen candidate with ease. Seeing the sudden appearance of a white-haired girl who seemed to emit no mana at all, Imari's instinct was already telling her that something was wrong. Stopping their charge, she glared at the girl before opening her mouth. "Speak. Who are you?" she declared as she summoned her spear. "Just a friend of the person who's taking the city. How's your day?" Shiro chuckled and gave her a small wave. Hearing this, Imari frowned since she couldn't tell how powerful Shiro was at all. "Why don't you introduce yourself? I'm rather curious what rank you are in terms of being a queen candidate." Shiro smiled. "Only if you tell me your identity first," Imari replied as Shiro shrugged. "Well, that's a real shame since we don't know who we're up against. But I suppose you'll be fighting me since we are taking your territory. Seeing that you are coming from the west of this city, I'd say there's a good chance that you're Imari." "Now the 67th rank Demon Queen candidate, no?" Shiro asked with a grin. Seeing that her identity was figured out, Imari didn't say anything other than glance to her assistant. "What's the situation in the city right now?" she whispered. "My companions are taking care of the guards right now so that the city comes under our control. Don't worry, they won't be killing anyone." Shiro interrupted as she appeared behind the queen with a smile. Widening her eyes, the queen immediately slashed her spear towards Shiro. However, just as she finished the full motion of her swing, she noticed that her spear had disappeared and Shiro was floating above her with the spear in hand. "It's not a bad weapon, but compared to our blacksmiths, it's kind of on the weak side." Shiro chuckled as she threw the spear back at her. "Here, fighting you isn't going to be any fun, so I'll let the others deal with you. After all, if I decided to fight, you'll be killed in an instant." She finished as she reappeared beside them, the queen with her sword against Imari's neck. Halting her breath out of fear, Imari glanced behind her in anger, since her subjects didn't protect their queen at all. But the moment she looked back, she saw that everyone had ice chains restraining their movements with swords surrounding them. She understood that if the white-haired girl wanted to, she could end them all in an instant. Of course, if you want to surrender, that's an option too. Shiro chuckled and jumped down from the sky, landing on the ground. She made herself a beach chair and an umbrella before bringing out some juice from her inventory. "You can have some fun with them instead." Shiro smiled. Snapping her finger, several portals opened up as the party stepped through it and looked towards the reinforcements the queen candidate brought. "You know, if you scare them like that, they wouldn't want to fight anymore." Ysilia sighed. "Oh, I'm sure it's fine." Shiro waved her hand as Lyrica only shrugged since they were used to this. While Shiro and the party were talking, Imari looked at all of them with a downcast expression. Even if she did fight them, she knew that she wasn't walking away victorious today. Gritting her teeth, she looked back at her subjects that followed her. "Go back. I'll buy some time. Hopefully they won't chase you down." She sighed while holding her spear. Hearing this, the soldiers paused for a second before shaking their heads. "There's nowhere for us to go, even if we go back," one of the soldiers said, as the rest nodded their heads. Pausing at this response, Imari chuckled. "Dumbasses. Let's take one down with us, then." She grinned. Looking at the final moments the queen was sharing with her shoulders, Shiro looked at the party awkwardly. "They do realize that we aren't going to kill them even if we win, right? Let them have this moment. Maybe next time the person who fights them won't be as kind as us. After all, life and death is fleeting on a battlefield." Ysilia smiled as the party waited for them to get ready. Taking a deep breath, Imari looked at the party and raised her spear. Releasing a loud war cry, her mana surged as blood-red aura erupted out of her body. Pointing her spear into the sky, red tethers could be seen gathering towards the spear tip from every corner as she pointed her spear towards the party. "Charge!" she shouted out. Following behind her, the soldiers activated their own spells. Looking at the charging army, the party couldn't help but smile, since they would be scared of this scene a few months ago. But now, it was nothing to them. "Shall we go a bit easy on them?" Sylvia asked, since she had skills and debuffs that would make what they're doing obsolete. "Yeah, just basic skills for now. If they do die, Sylvia, make sure they're unconscious or something." Lyrica nodded her head. "Sure. Reviving them shouldn't be too hard." Sylvia chuckled as she slammed her staff down. Suddenly, several layers of Tier 5 magic circles appeared beneath them as their stats received an upgrade. Cracking her neck, Madison took a step forward before summoning a shield. Ha! Shouting. Out as loud as she could, a semi-translucent barrier suddenly appeared around the party as it expanded out rapidly. Seeing this barrier, the soldiers quickly launched spells towards it, but it was ineffective. Bang! Crashing against their bodies, the barrier forced the soldiers back as their advance was halted. Imari managed to contest against the barrier for a short while. She was able to keep her bearings. Twisting her body, she slashed with her spear, and a crimson wave of energy clashed against the barrier, splitting it in half. Whistle. That's the first time I've seen someone cut your barrier in half. I suppose a queen candidate is indeed different to normal people. Lyrica smiled. Well, she is a candidate to lead the demon race. I'd be more concerned if she couldn't break past this barrier. Madison shrugged, since that barrier wasn't her strongest barrier. It was just something to clear some space around them if they ever get swarmed. Runobesh, regardless, I'll go knock a few of them out. Lyrica smiled. Reaching into her pocket dimension, she brought out 2 large cleavers that threatened to cut down anyone in her path. Are you sure you should use swords like that? Aren't we going to knock them out and not kill them? Madison asked with a forced smile. It's fine. Lyrica waved her hand dismissively. Stomping down, her body flashed towards the army as a trail. A red light could be seen flickering behind her. Twisting her body, she slammed the face of the blade against the body of a soldier. Crack! The sound of bones breaking could be heard as the impact knocked him out and sent him crashing to the ground. See? Knocked out, but not dead. Lyrica smiled as she continued to weave through the army with no one being able to catch her. He's not dead, but he could cross the line at any moment. Sylvia sighed as she slammed her staff down. Suddenly, green light wrapped around his body as his wounds were healed instantly. Oh, it's fine. You've got it sorted. Lyrica shrugged. Suddenly she felt danger behind her as she quickly raised her sword and slashed backwards. Clang! Blocking Lyrica's attack, Imari redirected the sword to the side before trying to slam the pommel of her spear against Lyrica's chest. Bending her body back, Lyrica dodged without too much trouble. Letting go of her sword, she reached into the Dao pocket dimension and grabbed another blade. This time, it was a dagger. Twirling the blade in her hand, she flicked it towards Imari's neck and forced her to back off. Gritting her teeth, Imari backed off and swiped up with her spear. Casually deflecting the spear with her arm guard, Lyrica slammed her hand down and summoned a spear with a flaming tip. While Imari was on guard, Lyrica took the time to quickly tie her hair into a ponytail since she wasn't in much danger. Well, aren't you kind? You actually gave me some time to tie my hair up. You know what? I'll be nice to you. Lyrica smiled and dashed forward. Piercing towards Imari with her spear, Lyrica grinned and let go so that the spear continued to travel, lifting. Up her leg, she kicked against the pommel to suddenly increase its speed. Widening her eyes, Imari twirled her spear and redirected the attack. Activating one of her skills, a murderous aura erupted out of her body. Crimson wings unfurled behind her as she flickered behind Lyrica. Seeing that Lyrica hadn't reacted just yet, Imari pierced towards her heart with the spear. However, before her spear could strike Lyrica's heart, a blade suddenly appeared and protected Lyrica from being killed. You know, if I time it right, I can summon a blade as a defensive action rather than offensive. Lyrica glanced back with a smile. Widening her eyes, Imari was about to jump back when several portals opened up around them. Grabbing a long sword from one of the portals, Lyrica dashed forward. Stepping on the shaft of the spear, she flipped over Imari and kicked her on the back of the head, forcing her to stumble forward. Crouching down, caught Imari's spear with the guard of her sword, and forced Imari closer to her so that her spear would have limited movements. After all, the danger of the spear came from the bladed tip rather than the shaft. Pushing up with her left hand, Lyrica slammed the pommel of her long sword against Imari's jaw, as a cruel sound of bone breaking could be heard, pulling her right. And back, she slammed it against her chest. Bang! Cough! Coughing up a mouthful of blood, Imari's body was sent crashing against the ground. Despite having a large arsenal of skills, Imari wasn't able to use most of them, as Lyrica had ended the fight rather quickly with 2 strong hits when her guard was down. For fights between high levels like them, a single mistake could be the end, even if you have powerful skills. During the short exchange between Lyrica and Imari, Yin, Lysandra, Arim, and Madison were making short work of the army. Meanwhile, Sylvia was in the background healing all of their enemies so that they didn't die because one of them couldn't control their strength. Soon, all of the enemy was down on the ground, as Imari's regeneration allowed her to stand back up, while blood dripped from the corner of her mouth. Looking at the party in front of her, Imari gritted her teeth since the power of the party far exceeded someone from the southern border. If she had to guess, they were either from the center or the east, with how easily they were able to deal with them. The most dangerous of all, the white-haired girl, who was relaxed the entire time. If she made a move, everything would have been over in a minute. What do you want with me and everyone else? Why do you bother keeping them alive? Himari took a deep breath despite the pain in her chest and asked. She could feel her ribs on the verge of breaking after Lyrica's hit, and every word she spoke was painful due to the broken jaw, but her regeneration was trying its best to keep things together. I suppose I want you as an ally. Well, ally is stretching things a bit, so how about subject or follower? You should be familiar with those terms, right? Madison asked with a smile. So you want me to become your slave, is that it? Himari gave her a mocking smile. Che, the hell is with you demons and slavery? I'm going to ask you to lick my boots or some crap. Things are basically going to be normal, only that you're now working for me, and everything you do is in my interest, rather than it being something detrimental for me. Think of me as an employer, and you're now an employee. Madison rolled her eyes since Belir was the same when talking about working under someone. So you just want me to work under you without any restrictions? Himari frowned as this sounded. Fake to her. Pretty much. After all, the only reason I'm even doing all this is so that I don't have some dipshit king turn me into a brainless bitch. Madison clicked her tongue and looked towards the north, where the top-ranking candidates reside. We don't really have the manpower to look after everything, so that's why I'm asking if you want to work under me. Otherwise, we would have probably killed everyone here for EXP. Madison shrugged. Wait, you don't have manpower? Himari asked in disbelief. With their power, getting soldiers shouldn't be hard, since demons valued strength. Nope, I'm only rank 72 after all. Madison shrugged her shoulders as Himari paused in shock. The one who stopped their advance and belonged to a party of strong people was actually the rank 72nd demon candidate? Blinking her eyes, Himari couldn't help but wonder if this was a bad dream.